All right, welcome back. This is episode number 27. This is August 6th. A lot of stuff's been happening the last week. We've got Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch had their press conferences talking about the upcoming football season and fall camp starting. Then we've got Mekhi Lemon announcing his commitment on Saturday at the 7th. A little bit about DeAndre Moore, maybe teaming up with Mekhi Lemon and Malachi Nelson. A little recap on the Champ U barbecue, and that's about it on this episode. And if you hadn't already checked out yesterday's video, we talked about the Big 12 and the SEC, Kansas potentially moving, Iowa State. What does that mean for the rest of the Big 12? Maybe going to the Pac-12? It's tough to say. So if you hadn't seen that video, definitely go check that one out. We threw out a bunch of opinions and scenarios that we think you guys would like, and let us know what you think. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe button. It lets us know that you like what you're seeing. We really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving us over the past, we started this into March. So what are we, 4 months into this, 3 months into this now? It's pretty crazy that we're already up to where we're at right now, and just right before football's about to start. And I think that's when we're going to really keep pushing out the good content in a few more weeks. A lot of good football stuff coming up. So without further ado, we'll get going into it. We'll go in the Lincoln Riley press conference. There's a few quotes that I saw or that we saw that I thought would be good working points and something to talk about. Really, the offensive line was a big point of discussion on that. You've got the center position that seems to be kind of wide open. Riley made a comment that Chris Murray, Andrew Rame, Ivan McIver, and Nate Anderson and Robert Kungle are all working at center right now. Which Chris Murray, I don't know, I'll just kind of give a little background that I know of. I know Chris Murray transferred in from UCLA, sat out last year. Andrew Rame, he's a freshman, or redshirt freshman out of Broken Arrow High School. Ivan McIver, I'm not really familiar with him. Nate Anderson, I believe he was in the 2021 class out of Arizona or Texas. I can't remember, but he's a freshman. And Robert Kungle, he transferred in as a center from the University of Arizona. So it seems really, really wide open. What do you guys think about that position, and who do you think is going to win it?
If I'm a betting man, I bet Andrew Rame.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and especially because he was 2020's our top lineman, I believe, during the recruiting class. He's from, I feel like he's probably had him and the other guy that transferred in from UCLA last year probably have the most experience in the offense at this point. So I really think it's a toss-up between them, but Andrew's got to be the one to take it just because he'd probably be a disappointment, for the recruiting for Coach B if he doesn't take over the center position after being 1 year as a redshirt.
Yeah, I agree. And Andrew Rame was huge. He's a big kid. He's very highly touted. Had all the offers. All the big names. I think it was like number 90 overall on 24/7 Sports. And kind of like Ho said, yeah, like it would be a disappointment if he didn't start. That would mean like he clearly is not showing something in camp, or he's, but the stuff that we don't get to see, the practices, he must not be doing well if he doesn't start.
Yeah, and that is true, but also you got to think about, actually Andrew Rame is a true freshman. He's not even a redshirt freshman. He got the COVID year, so he, in theory, if he doesn't play this year, he would actually redshirt and be a two-year redshirt going into next year, which is kind of crazy to think, and a lot of kids can benefit from that. I'd imagine either Chris Murray or Andrew Rame, like you guys were saying, but I just feel like Chris Murray had a lot of hype coming into this, but they both can play that center guard combination. So I know the guard position's kind of been covered, and this kind of leads into the next quote, talking about the center and tackle positions. So they're having a lot of combinations because we know the guards are set. I mean, that's what Hayes and Robinson, right? Are going to be at the guard position, which side it's, they can be interchangeable, but the left tackle, center, and right tackle seem to be kind of up in the air. Obviously, you've got Wayne Morris, I believe that's how you say his name. That's left tackle, right tackle. I think he can pretty much play whichever one. You've got Anton Harrison. A few others. Savion Bird, I know, is out there. I'm trying to think of a few others. I know there's a handful more, but it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty at those 3 out of 5 positions. Brandon, what do you think? Do you think Wanya will start? I mean, I'd imagine he's going to get one of those spots
for sure. I think Wanya for sure. I one of them, and then opposite Wanya, if it's Savion Bird or if it's Anton Harrison, I think the Sooners are in very capable hands. As far as offensive line, it's another position that we always seem to be very deep. We always seem to roll out NFL talent. They won the whatever award it was, the best offensive line award not long ago with Creed Humphrey and Drew Samia and some of those guys on the team. It seems something that we never have to rebuild. It's always a reloading thing. But if I were to, I would definitely say that Wanya Morris gets one of the spots, and then, I mean, if it's Harrison or if it's Bird, I'm okay with either one. But
I would assume it'd be Harrison, right? Savion Bird is a freshman in the program this year, and really we don't start true freshmen in the offensive line unless they're just amazing. Creed Humphrey is the last one I can remember that did that.
Yeah, and Anton played a little bit this past season. I know he was going back and forth, but another couple guys, I just looked it up. I totally forgot, but Eric Swenson's there, which I know he's played quite a bit, but he's pretty up and down. Sometimes he's extremely dominant, but then there's sometimes I remember watching him, just like, man, he just kind of looks a little lost. And then you've got Bray Walker, which Bray Walker leads me, it's like I remember him coming out of Moore High School, and it was very much of like, he was a 5-star. He was a top 40 talent or overall, and by 247, he just hasn't seemed to be able to crack that, getting that starting lineup. I feel like the time's got to be this year. I mean, you would think I believe he came in the 2018 class. I think he's like a redshirt junior now. I feel like he should, if he's going to start, I would think it's got to be this year.
It's kind of like what Lincoln said for he got asked about Theo Weiss and Jaden Hazelwood, and he kind of pretty much said, like, well, the time for talking is over. If these guys are going to do something, it's it's time. It's kind of the same thing for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have talked about the guard positions, but there's always a possibility he transitions to the interior of the line. I mean, the tackle is definitely the hardest spot on the line to play just because you have to be so athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know if Bray Walker could fit in the guard position. The guy's like 6'6", 6'7", like 360. I don't think he's nimble enough.
Yeah, he's kind of stuck at that tackle spot, so he might. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, and then speaking of tackles that we recently recruited, Stacey Wilkins announced that he's transferring to Louisiana Monroe. I mean, great. I mean, I don't wish him ill will or anything. It's kind of crazy that talented of a kid coming out of high school went to OU for a year or whatever, and now he's going to Louisiana Monroe. I feel like I expected him to land somewhere at a Power 5 school, but
maybe they're Big 12 bound.
maybe. Another thing I saw that Riley mentioned that Jeremiah Curdell, he's probably one of the most, if not the most, improved players since this spring. So, which is pretty good. We kind of projected Curdell and to be playing in that where Bookie played, maybe the nickel position. Obviously, and then jumping ahead to Alex Grinch, he mentioned that Billy Bowman probably will be, he's one of the top freshmen that could contribute immediately. And we kind of talked about this a while ago, that it could be a Jeremiah Curdell, Billy Bowman 50-50, split, or adding a third person in that rotation. It might be those two or one more other guy in that rotation. It's good to hear that Curdell's progressing.
I say, yeah, it's now or never for him. I mean, he played very sparingly last year. A guy that Lincoln Riley was very excited to land. If you guys saw his, whenever he decided to commit to OU, Lincoln Riley's in his office like fist pumping, high fiving all the staff. But I mean, he hasn't really got the opportunity yet, and it's now or never for him.
Yeah, it's definitely there for his taking. Jose, do you have something to add with him?
I mean, I'm excited for him. I hope he does well this season. I'm just super high on Billy Bowman. I hope he kind of takes over the lead spot at the nickel position. We'll see.
Jeremiah Curdell.
I don't hate him, but Billy Bowman, I said it before, he's the next Charles Woodson.
Yeah. So, and then kind of overall summarizing the few points, Lincoln talked about the secondary depth. You know, it's gone. His quote is, "It's gone from how are we going to get this guy off the field to getting reps for everyone." You know, there were just a handful of guys that were like really even good enough to play at a high level in Power Five play to now everyone in that defensive back room is capable of playing at a high level, which is nice. I mean, that's something that we've been talking about for the past, 6 months, or well, I guess 3 months that we started doing this, but even before we started the podcast, that's noticeable change, and it's good to see as well. And we're not we're not the best football analysts out there, but even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, and I think we found one with that. So
Yeah, I think you could attribute that to how they recruit now for the defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be just kind of lankier guys. They weren't they were athletic, but they weren't, extreme athletes and we're going to jump off the stat sheet or anything. But now we're going after track stars, converted wide receivers to DBs. We're going after big athletes now, and obviously that's going to help, especially when you got to go stride for stride in the Big 12. Those receivers aren't going to, take it easy on you. We got to make sure
yeah,
that we're staying on them.
It's just
yeah,
like we talked about before with the defensive line. You know how like we with all these defensive line and how deep we think that position is this year and how it's the best spot on the team. It used to be we couldn't land a good defensive recruit. We were stuck with who we
mhm,
had, and now it's the same on the defensive backside where we have just an
yeah.
abundance of talent, and who knows who's going to play or when.
Yeah, for sure. And another person, that we talked about is Keyshawn Lawrence. Key Lawrence might be able to play, in that spot. I just thought about with Billy Bowman and Curdell, he might be in that rotation. I know he's more of a safety, but there's so much talent, he might be slipped in there. And another guy, Jordan Mukes. Grinch said he's a lot further along than expected. It seemed like everything that we've been reading this offseason has pointed to that, and it looked like that in the spring game, if you guys recall. But Jordan Mukes, Billy Bowman, Key Lawrence, those are just a couple of guys that we've done some hoodats on. If you guys hadn't seen those, definitely go check those out. I'm a big Jordan Mukes guy. I know he wasn't the highest recruit, but I really like him as far as being an athletic specimen and someone that could turn into a strong safety or free safety that receivers don't want to go over the middle against, because he's that big
Oh
and,
yeah.
and can lay some wood on some people. So
Yeah, and like we're talking about these guys, just for the upcoming season because it's only a month away. But if you think about it, over the next 3 years, these are going to be guys that are probably going to be cornerstones in Grinch's defense, and it's going to be our talent's obviously going to get better. So hopefully that correlates to top 3 defense in the country, and by the time we get to the SEC, it's just going to be who's going to be able to score on us and who's going to be able to stop the offense, because that offense isn't slowing down anytime soon.
no. So that's really kind of some of the big quotes that I saw from Grinch and Riley. Just a few. Do you guys have anything to add before we move on and with the press conferences?
With Key Lawrence and Mukes, are those guys athletic enough, you think, like to play like sort of like a hybrid safety to where they line up in the box and play linebacker on some snaps too and stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually think we talked about in Jordan Mukes's deal is I think we brought that up. I think I made the comparison that he's like a Robert Barnes, except a lot better than Robert Barnes. Like, he has the body type, but like someone that can actually play that position, that role. I don't think Key Lawrence will be that guy, but I think if one's going to be, I think it's Jordan Mukes, which is pretty good. But
always good to
have that versatility.
Yeah, they both have the frame for it, so that's good.
Yeah, so we'll move on. Makai Lemon from Los Alamitos, Malachi Nelson's teammate, number 33 overall kid, number 4 athlete in the 2023 class. He is announcing tomorrow, Saturday, the 7th. I didn't catch the time, but I believe it's on CBS Sports HQ. Excuse me. So with him, obviously teammates with Malachi Nelson, they've been playing for a while. It seemed like as soon as Malachi committed, it just seemed almost like a formality.
To shift our way,
yeah.
Sure.
And I think they originally wanted to play at Southern Cal, and as soon as Southern Cal pulled that whole deal with Malachi and burnt that bridge, I think they burnt the bridge with Makai Lemon and letting 2 of the top prospects in the 2023 class out of their backyard. And I also think Makai Lemon sees it as, well, I got to secure my spot. Like we talked about this some previous episodes. He's an athlete, he plays on both sides of the ball, but I think he wants to go play receiver or offense, in a gadget role or whatever with Malachi. So he wants to secure his position and not lose a scholarship spot on the receiver spot. So I'm pretty confident everything I've seen, we've read, I would say everything points to the Sooners. It's almost a formality at this point that he's just going to announce. What do you guys think about him? Anything? We kind of.
Yeah, I'm just excited for that 2023 class to start filling up with the offensive talent. I mean, like you just mentioned, it's going to start coming in. It's going to be fun. Makai is super athletic, so I don't think it would be impossible that he plays on the DB side. I think we talked about it offline. It just kind of depends on how the recruiting ends up for the wide receiver side for 2023, because as of now, we're slotted for the top 3 receivers.
Yeah.
Not including Makai. So
that's what has me so excited. Yeah, because like Brum mentioned offline that he prefers, like, if in a perfect world, if everything works out that way, Makai Lemon plays defense, a DB somewhere. And that makes sense, and I can see why, but like his tape is unreal as a receiver too. Like what I get most excited about is just thinking like of that core that Malachi Nelson could potentially have with Burden already committed. If Brandon Ennis commits like we think he will, and then he has Makai Lemon, those are 3 5-star receivers playing with him. And I'm not sure anybody, in recent memory has had that for us. I know Baker had CD in Hollywood, but I don't know if they were 5 stars. I mean,
CD, I believe, was a 3 or 4-star, depending on where you check. Not that he was a slouch or anything, but I actually remember he was so skinny, so lanky, and then he just blew up. But I don't think he didn't come into Oklahoma as polished as these kids are going to come in.
With CD and Hollywood, they obviously played at a 5-star level for us. I mean, there's no denying that.
Oh yeah.
But just to have that trio of receivers with a 5-star quarterback and a Lincoln Riley offense, that, to me, that's the most exciting thing. And then the running back depth that we have too in these upcoming classes, that it's insane what the offense could be.
Yeah, and maybe I'm crazy, but was Hollywood Brown a transfer? I believe he was a JUCO
Nobody
transfer.
wanted him. Yeah, he was working at Six Flags. Yeah. He was like 150 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I forget what college it was, and I remember reading about him years ago, and they're like, this guy can fly, he can do this.
He runs a 2.140.
Yeah, 2.1. Yeah. So and you're talking about 5-star receivers. You left one out that DeAndre Moore, or did you say Moore or Burden? Sorry, I thought I heard you
I
say
mentioned Burden. I figured we were going to eventually talk about DeAndre Moore because now he is teammates with Makai and Malachi. Makai. Yeah,
Makai and Malachi.
That's weird to say their first names. I thought I said the same person.
Yeah, so you've got DeAndre Moore transferred in from, some high school in Las Vegas. He's now transferring into Los Alamitos, California. And it seems like things might be trending towards the Sooners in that regard, as far as now they're going to play high school football together for the next 2 years. And then could they all 3 go play for Oklahoma? So before they even get on campus, they might all have 2 years of experience working together. That's kind of crazy to think about. They're going to have such an edge on everyone, and whenever they come in,
that high school team right now is going to be tough to stop. Good luck opposing California defenses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know a whole lot about California football. I know Mater Dei, and because that's where Relique Brown is from, and Dominique Jackson, all those, and there's St. John Bosco. Those are like the only 3 schools I know in California, but Los Alamitos is just going to be crazy with that much talent.
Yeah, DeAndre went to Desert Pines in Vegas. So
is that the same place as Ramondre?
I have no idea, but that's where Javonte Barnes is currently at. So I wonder if him moving is the reason why the kid from Texas came to the barbecue this last weekend. I don't know if Javonte was very happy with his teammate leaving to go play for a different state. I don't know if his parents moved for that reason, but
I always wonder how that works. Guys. Yeah, you mentioned the parents thing. That's always weird for me. Like, just so this kid's parents, because he's a what is he, a sophomore in high school, junior in high school, DeAndre Moore?
Sophomore.
Yeah.
So yeah, his parents are just gonna move cities, get new jobs, do all that so this kid can play football at a different high school.
Yeah,
and then just
I don't know.
consequently, it's in the district where he would get the best high school, or the high school with his potential future teammates in college. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like that's too much of a coincidence. It must have been planned, or they talked about it.
These
Obviously
kids
in
are
high school,
talking.
yeah, they know. And like now with Quinn Ewers, that's his name, right? Leaving high school, like, yeah, I think these guys are kind of starting to plan for the future, and they're starting to think a little bit more as an adult, a lot earlier in their age. And
Yeah, and you bring up the whole Texas, Champion barbecue, and that was going to be our next deal, and we'll get right into that as far as Jamarion Miller visiting the Sooners. But uh, before we go on, definitely it's going to be crazy to watch that team going in their junior seasons, playing all together. Definitely something that we're going to be watching and keeping you guys up to date on. Maybe they'll win a state title or two before they're done. So moving on to Jamarion Miller, 4-star running back out of Tyler, Texas, and he's a current Texas commit. He visited for the Sooners with the mini Champion barbecue, whatever they were calling it. I think it's interesting, and obviously Javante Barnes. I don't know what side, if the Sooners started, reaching out more and more to Miller, or if Miller's been reaching out to the Sooners. I don't know what way that is, but the fact that he came up, that has to mean something as a current Texas commit. And does that mean the Sooners aren't feeling great about Javante Barnes? Because the biggest competition is going to be with Alabama with Javante. So do you think that that's the Sooners keeping the seat warm for anyone that wants to commit first? Or, I mean, do you think this is Miller initiating? I think it's the Sooners reaching out, because I think they know they want a third guy. I think they're a little worried about Barnes maybe not following through with his, or well, he's not even committed, but being able to commit to the Sooners. Brandon, what do you think?
See, I don't know. I'm not convinced it means that they don't like Barnes, or they're like they don't want Barnes on their team. I think it's one of those things. It's like, why not get as much talent as you? If they love them both, let's say they do, I think they're gonna go try and get both. Why not? And then just have like competition. I don't think it necessarily means that we don't like Barnes. I can see that maybe, but I think maybe get both if they like them both.
I don't think it's that the Sooners don't like Barnes. I just think maybe the Sooners are thinking that they might not have the chance. They might not have the leg up that they thought. And then they're now exploring other options.
Bam or something. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's a possibility, but it's a spot that I don't necessarily worry about too much, just with the influx of talent coming in. Like to get them both, but I'd like to get either one of them, but we'll see.
It might also be one spot. I mean, we're coming into the school year, right? So Javante is probably not going to be able to be coming to Norman. And from his 247 profile, there's the experts are projecting that he's going to be at USC, or be committing to USC. And obviously they've also got Bama as a school that he's looking at. So maybe, like you said, they just don't feel as comfortable with him committing, and they've got to start opening up. And Miller is obviously a lot closer geographically, so he can come visit maybe during the season, the Nebraska game, things like that.
Yeah, and if Miller does make the decision to decommit from Texas and commit to Oklahoma, he's making a very good business decision and a winning decision.
Yeah, and maybe this speaks more towards how serious the Sooners are at trying to get a third running back in this class. Maybe that's what it's really meaning, is that they're trying to make sure they get a third one at least. I don't know. It's just something to watch, that maybe he will come up for a game this year, Miller. And like you said, Jose, that's a good point, because a lot of kids from the East and West Coast can't travel, for a Saturday morning game, because, the Big 12 loves those 11 a.m. kickoffs. They play Friday night football. They can't get on a plane at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, there's not a lot of red eyes, or they just don't want to do it, which I can't blame them, and then be up by like 8 o'clock the next morning Central Time. If you're traveling from the West Coast, you're losing 2 hours. I mean, it's just, that could be it, that they're just trying to keep the seat warm for someone. But so we'll move on. Gentry Williams, gosh, this has kind of been a saga, I remember people were sounding the panic alarm with him with his visit to USC. I remember kind of saying that it's that post-visit high. Not saying that the USC threat isn't real. I just think overall the hometown team parents went to OU. They're going to win out. And I think this visit and another official visit that he's taken in September, it just seems like everything's starting to trend towards the Sooners. And we just talked about the long travel. It's going to be very hard for him to get back to USC during the football season. It's going to be extremely hard unless he's wanting to wait till the February signing day and he goes in the wintertime. But I really think this weekend was huge, and they, I'm sure the coaches placed a lot of importance on his visit this weekend.
They had the full court press on him.
Yeah, full court press on on one of them, on him and Chris McClellan. Jose, what do you think about it? Anything specific?
I mean, I think that we definitely have a much better shot just because, like you said, he's going to have a hard time getting to travel to California. But I'm a little bit more concerned that, and I'm probably just reading too much into it with his social media. He seems to be a guy that's like super on top of it, and most recruits are nowadays with like what they're posting. They're very calculated in the uniforms that they're going to be posting in and things like that. And his profile picture still has him in the Trojans uniform, which I'm sure is probably like just because it's cool. But I feel like he's kind of leaning in that direction. But we do have a much better shot at getting him because he does seem to be a kid that gets like super high after a visit. He loves everything. Obviously, both schools probably have great facilities and they both have their perks. So luckily, we'll be seeing him a couple more times before he makes his commitment. And I think that'll help us a lot.
And you've started off, I mentioned it was like a whole saga thing, and that couldn't be more true because like at the spring game, I think, around that time, we were all convinced 100% Gentry Williams, no doubt, or Oklahoma. And then, the Southern Cal drama, or not drama, but, the Southern Cal high he's got and the profile picture and all that. I think we did start to think, he even got crystal ball to USC by a couple of different people. So like that, then, the panic starts sitting in. And then, but now I agree. And even the move to the SEC is going to help us. His parents being Sooners, as you mentioned, just the proximity to home, the ability for him, if he commits to Oklahoma, he can, on an off weekend, the few and the very little amount of off weekends that they get, he can, take a quick 2-hour drive down back to Tulsa, see everybody he likes. And what we haven't mentioned yet, but it's going to come up, is his teammate Micah Tease is very likely to come to Oklahoma. And if they're boys at all, that's not going to hurt our chances either.
Yeah, and he was going to be the next guy we were going to talk about. I mean, the thing is Oklahoma as a high school football, as a state, has not always been great. It's always Texas, Florida, California, and Ohio will produce some good ones. But the main three states, Texas, California, and Florida. Oklahoma, for the population recently, we've really as a state have started to produce some great talent, and I think it's only getting better. The facilities, the training facilities, as the cities, Oklahoma City and Tulsa grow, it's providing more opportunities for kids, better access to everything, like what these big cities offer. And I think it's only going to get better. And I think we're starting to see that the Sooners are going to have a lot of talent. They're not even going to have to go south of the Red River to go get the talent. I mean, they will, but they're going to be able to get the guys at home. And Micah Tease is another guy, he's 2023, but he's already a 4-star. I think he's like 150 overall. He just got a big bump in the 247 rankings, defensive back. And his brother, obviously Miles Tease, if anyone's been watching in the past few years, walk-on player turned into a scholarship player for the Sooners. I just think there's going to be this sense of pride now going to the SEC of this is the hometown, or this is the home state school. You can go play the big boy SEC football and be a Sooner and represent the state. I think there's going to be a sense of pride in that now. Yeah. And I think that's going to create a pipeline, and the talent's getting better.
Absolutely.
And I think Micah Tease is going to be one of them.
For Tease specifically, I think just having that Sooners across your chest, especially with your brother being a scholarship player after turning walk on, it's going to mean something to him. He's going to want to, follow in his footsteps, but be even better. And obviously he's already off to a better start because he's going to start off with a scholarship and probably, a greater shot at playing time. But yeah, I mean, the whole pride thing and meaning something is a great point. I think it's very true, especially for tees.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we have a better shot at getting Micah Tees at this point, and you guys are right. If they are boys, it'll help us a lot with Gentry. But yeah, Micah Tees is gonna. I would expect him to be a Sooner unless something comes up where like an Alabama or someone, LSU, someone that's like known for being great at developing DBs comes in and just swoops him. Yeah, he'll probably follow in his brother's footsteps. He'll be a Sooner soon enough. But I'm honestly excited for us to get to the SEC to start recruiting more out of Florida, but that can be a topic for another day.
Yeah, which I mean, that talent's going to be crazy. And another in-state pride guy that visited is Chris McClellan, and Chris McClellan is boys with Gentry Williams, and I'd imagine friends with Micah Tees. I'm sure it's just a trio. When you're in a smaller city and you're elite football, you're probably all buds, I would imagine. So
they
Chris
play
McClellan
Xbox together.
Yeah, Chris McClellan, obviously, he's defensive lineman out of Owasso, Oklahoma. He's a 4-star, top 100 247 player. He's been trending towards the Ohio State Buckeyes. It seemed like it was almost a few months ago. He was it was a foregone conclusion. He was on commitment watch, and the commitment never came. Not saying that it's, he's going to be a Sooner, but the longer this is drawn out, the better. And he dropped to top 6. I know the Sooners are on there, the Buckeyes, I think Alabama, LSU, Florida, and I can't remember the last one, but it seems to be a Sooners Buckeyes deal. And I think and I think this pride of Oklahoma playing in the SEC, big boy football, I think that might be weighing into his decision at this point. Jose, do you have anything to add with him? That's another guy I just don't want to lose. I mean, that talented on the defensive line.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be more so the SEC move. I don't think it's going to be like having pride in the home state. I think we're still probably going to be losing a lot of these guys to places that develop their position a lot better. So we should definitely still be expecting Ohio State to be coming hard, probably bringing recruiters to Oklahoma, making sure that they have constant contact with them. But yeah, this guy's definitely a guy we don't want to lose. He's a big man that is going to be very helpful to continue getting this defensive line talent to just get to the next level.
Yeah. I think the pride is coming with the SEC move, and I think you're going to see less because the quality of talent and the coaching is only going to get better. I don't think a lot of kids are going to be leaving. I don't know. Maybe I'm buying too much into it, but I just feel like the Big 12 is a little bit of a laughing stock. The SEC is not. I don't know.
I hope you're right. I mean, you hate to lose in-state kids, especially in-state kids at the caliber of Gentry Williams and Chris McClellan. They're huge kids, and they're guys that we should be full court pressing hard. These next weeks, months, whatever, how long it is till they commit. But like kind of going back to what Host was saying about Gentry Williams, I'm with you, bro. I'm confident about Gentry Williams swinging to Oklahoma. It's looking that way to me too. I'm more nervous with McClellan. I still feel like he's kind of Ohio State leaning. I'd love to see that switch, love to see that flip somewhere. But he's the guy that I'm more concerned about than Gentry at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's hard to say it, but like you can't blame the guy, right? He's a defensive end, and he's going to go to a place that's developed top 5 picks in the NFL.
Yeah, so, the Bosa's and Young.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like if he develops and he's great at Ohio State, good for him. It's going to stink for the Sooners, but we do want to keep him around. Like he's, like you guys have said, it's a guy that we don't want to lose. Obviously, being from in-state, and I think Brum may be right with like the SEC and home pride might be a thing for maybe a couple years. I just don't see it being a thing that'll help the Sooners for the long term, just because after a couple years it'll just be the norm. And obviously we're going to start getting recruits from states that we don't typically get from right now, a little bit more East Coast. We'll see. Hopefully he does flip soon enough. And like we've been saying with the other guys, school year starting, so he just has to take a 2-hour drive to Norman rather than get flown to Columbus or have those guys come down when they probably don't have very much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine he'll be visiting. I don't know if he's got a visit set up. I'd imagine he'll be visiting with Gentry Williams or the Nebraska game, one of the two. Well, either it's Western Carolina or the Nebraska game. I'd imagine he's going to come for one of those.
You got to win these in-state kids at this high level. You got to win your own state.
Yeah, I mean, the Sooners were already behind the 8 ball with Dax Hill, but is the Josh Proctor one still haunts me for the Buckeyes. I mean, but at the same time, you look back whenever he was coming out of high
Josh
school.
Jacobs.
Well, yeah, I mean, Josh
Jacobs,
even
offer him until like the last second.
I know, but
Josh Jacobs was kind of a sneaky talent, right? It wasn't he wasn't like super highly recruited. It was Alabama just kind of found him.
Yeah, he was a 3-star guy, but I think it was. But I can't blame Josh Proctor because you were talking about, he could go, kids can go develop at a greater, with a better position coach and a better team. Well, the defensive back position when he graduated in what was in 2016, I think 2016, 2017, horrible. So yeah, I
didn't want to play the Mike Stoops 15 yards off coverage.
No. So I can't blame him. But now as we're getting better, I would like to think we wouldn't lose a guy like that. And maybe I'm looking at Micah Tease as that same kind of prospect now when we're not going to miss out on
Tease. We all three agree. We're pretty confident in that one.
Yeah. I think it's he will help bring Gentry if that's a possibility.
It's not going to hurt. That's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, do you guys have any final thoughts? Any deals leading up into Mackay Lemon's, commitment watch?
I would just say, watch it, Sooner fans, because I think you're going to be happy Saturday when he makes that decision.
I expect that we will see someone follow closely behind him at the wide receiver position. If it's Moore, Hale, or Ennis, one of those guys is going to have to come in and take their scholarship spot before there's no more.
Yeah, maybe Moore will join as a new teammate in high school and in college. So
I mean, how cool is that for them? Just think like that. Imagine us three being if we weren't so fat and we were actually athletic and we could run and jump and catch and do stuff like that. Just picture us less fat, more athletic, and we have the opportunity to keep it going in college, play college football. I mean, that's cool. Like, we need to be recruiting that.
Maybe we should just ship them Sooner stuff so that they don't even have to wear Los Alamitos uniforms. Just go out there in your Sooner gear already, bud.
Yeah. So anyway, less fat. Yeah, that is the truth.
Less fat, boys.
Yeah.
Drink less beers, drink more water.
We didn't do a whole lot more in college.
Water.
So, oh gosh. All righty. Well, we really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you made it this far, if you hadn't hit that like button, please do. And make sure to subscribe. We've got another Who Dat coming out. It was requested for Savion Bird. Be sure to watch for that coming out on next Monday. And Savion might be contributing this fall. We really appreciate the support, and we'll keep the content coming your way. We're less than a month out from Sooners football, and that's a good thing to say. So appreciate it.